What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now it is 1500 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from Eastern Europe, Asia, and from here in the United States. I want to start with Asia first. So what you're looking at here is some very concerning footage coming out of Asia, showing a Chinese PLA fighter jet buzzing one of our reconnaissance planes flying over the Asia Pacific region. I don't know exactly where this occurred. That detail has not been released, but you can clearly see a Chinese fighter jet flying right in front of this Recon plane. And we know it's a Recon plane because you can see the black nose here, and that's where they keep their camera pods and different reconnaissance equipment. Okay, so this is an RC-135 rivet joint that was conducting some kind of a patrol in the Asia Pacific region, probably one of the RC-135s that I was showing you guys on the flight tracker the last couple days, and you can clearly see this Chinese fighter jet comes out of nowhere and flies right in front of this RC-135, and you can see it actually caused the plane to shake a little bit. It created some turbulence, okay? So this is very, very serious, very provocative action right after Trump gets inaugurated, and Taiwan is reporting that 2 undersea cables connecting some islands here off the coast of China to Taiwan have been severed. Okay, so this is very, very concerning as well. We also have an update from Trump on the situation in Ukraine. So yesterday, Trump said that his administration was looking into sending more weapons to Ukraine, but that the European Union should be doing more to support Ukraine. Trump further stated that he would impose sanctions on Putin and Russia if he refused to negotiate on some kind of a deal to end the war. He also reiterated today that if Putin doesn't want to make a deal, then he would sanction everything. And what's interesting is on Inauguration Day, when he was signing all those executive orders, he said that he was even considering using tariffs as well. Also today, Trump reiterated that his team is currently working on the issue of future arms deliveries to Ukraine. They're currently working on it. And this update was sponsored by EMP Shield. Guys, EMP Shield has created a special discount just for you, the listeners of the NYPrepper channel. If you go to empshield.com and use the promo code NYPrepper, you can get 15% off your entire order. And why do you need an EMP shield? Well, this is a special device to protect your vehicle, your RV, your solar generators, your radios from an electromagnetic pulse, which could be caused by a solar flare or potentially a rogue country like North Korea detonating an electromagnetic pulse weapon over the United States that's mounted onto a satellite. So protect your vehicles, protect your RV, protect your radios, protect your generators with an EMP shield. Use my promo code NYPrepper to get 15% off. Installation is super simple. This is a veteran-owned business, 100% American-made, and the EMP shields have been tested by the military, okay? And free shipping is included to the entire continental United States. And the link and the promo code are in the description below this video. And he said that the Ukrainian conflict could end, quote, the easy way or the hard way, but he said that he prefers the easy way. Okay, so Trump knows he's got leverage over Putin. Okay, the U.S. military is bigger and better than the Russian military. The U.S. economy is bigger and better than the Russian economy, and even bigger and better than the BRICS countries. And our economy here is only going to get bigger and better, and our military is only going to get bigger and better. So Trump knows he's got leverage over Putin, and Putin should be considered lucky that Trump is actually even offering a deal, because he doesn't have to. He could just send more weapons to Ukraine, better weapons, and just watch Putin's regime collapse and the Russian economy collapse, okay, which would eventually happen if the U.S. really wanted to. If Trump really wanted to, he could do that, okay? But he's trying to be nice, and he's offering Putin a deal. He's offering Putin a way out so Putin doesn't get embarrassed on the world stage. But Trump basically ripped Putin apart on Inauguration Day, basically saying that Putin is destroying Russia, that Putin is struggling in the war in Ukraine. And these are just facts. It's true, okay? We're on 3 years with this war, and Russia still has not beaten Ukraine. Yeah, they took a small piece of Ukraine, but they haven't achieved their objectives after 3 years, okay? Ukraine is like less than 5% the size of Russia. That would be like the U.S. taking 3 years to take over Guatemala, okay? So Trump knows he's got leverage over Putin. Putin really has zero leverage. His economy is struggling, and now he is China's bitch because of all the sanctions on him. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens and whether Putin is going to accept any deal, because if he does, it would make him look really weak at home and around the world. So I personally don't think he would accept any deal unless the deal involves his huge demands of no NATO east of Germany, which would mean Finland, Sweden, the Baltic countries, Poland, Romania, Slovakia, all those countries that are in NATO would have to drop their NATO membership, and there would be limits on Ukraine's military, no more than 50,000 troops and no artillery and no missiles at all. So I don't think Trump's going to go for that. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens. This is going to be very, very interesting to see how things unfold. We also have U.S. nuclear forces on very high alert this afternoon. I'm going to show you that right now. So we've had this continuous data stream, encrypted data, since Friday. Okay, so today would be the 5th day, and it looks like it might have just ended this afternoon, but this is definitely a record. I myself and my radio expert consultant have never heard this data stream go on for this long of a period of time. Okay, the last time this data stream went on for almost as long was last year, right after or right before Iran launched a massive missile attack on Israel. The first time we had this data stream go on for 2 days, but this thing has been going on for 5 days. And what's interesting is last night it switched frequencies and locations. So for the last 3 or 4 days, it's been broadcasting mostly in Europe. And then last night it switched over to broadcasting in the US, and it switched to a different frequency, which is interesting. But let me just play a small sample for you so you know what it sounds like. So this is encrypted data being transmitted on the primary nuclear war frequency. Very concerning. This afternoon we have a presidential doomsday plane that was looping over Missouri and Kansas. And we also have a nuke sniffer plane over Nebraska right now. These planes can detect traces of radiation in the atmosphere. It flew up towards northern Wisconsin and the upper peninsula of Michigan, and then it went back to Nebraska. Now it's flying low over Nebraska, and the presidential doomsday planes are for the U.S. president. In the event of a nuclear war, the president would actually go airborne rather than in a bunker, because he would actually be safer in the air than in a bunker, because Russia and China know where our bunkers are for the most part, and they could strike them with earth-penetrating nuclear warheads. But if they put the president in the air, he's actually safer. So this is pretty interesting. We also have a nuclear war command and control plane airborne as well. These planes can communicate with our submerged nuclear-armed submarines and issue launch orders if necessary, and they can also remotely launch all of our Minuteman III ICBMs. We also had another night of massive reconnaissance over Scandinavia and Eastern Europe. Okay, we have here a rivet joint, which is a recon plane, like I was explaining, that got buzzed by the Chinese fighter jet. It flew up towards Russia's northern fleet here near the Kola Peninsula in Murmansk. Took off from the UK, from Mildenhall, went all the way up, flew up to Murmansk, did a loop over here, came back down through Finland along the border with Russia, and then went through the Baltics along the border with Russia and Belarus, and then went up into northern Poland along the border with Russia. So massive reconnaissance loop by this RC-135 last night. Also, we have a sub-hunter that was active in the Baltic Sea at the same time, flying really low off the coast of Kaliningrad and off the coast of Poland. And we also have several NATO AWACS planes airborne right now. We have one looping near the entrance to the Danish Straits in the North Sea, and we have one looping in northern Germany. So more massive reconnaissance in Eastern and Northern Europe last night and right now. Here you can see that sub-hunter. It was looping near Gdańsk, which is a very important port city in Poland. It's Poland's largest port right there in Gdynia and Gdańsk. Okay, that's where most of Poland's shipping containers come in. And then they did some loops here closer to Germany. And you can see these NATO AWACS planes here near the Danish Straits. So something's brewing over here, guys. We also had a French recon plane flying in Estonia at the same time last night, okay, along the border with Russia. This is the third night in a row that this French recon plane has been flying here along the border with Russia. And it's not just the French that are flying recon planes in this area. 2 nights ago and last night, we saw American and other NATO recon planes. We saw a Swedish recon plane patrolling this same exact area at the same time as an American recon drone. Okay, so lots of recon going on along the border of Estonia and Russia. So something could be going on, guys. It's possible that Putin could try to invade Estonia or the Baltics to test Trump, see how tough Trump is. There was also a Swedish recon plane in the Baltic Sea patrolling the Gotland Island last night as well. And then we had a NATO heavy cargo plane fly to Lithuania, to Kaunas, which is where NATO has their largest multinational brigade, so possibly moving some heavy equipment, maybe air defenses, maybe artillery shells, who knows. Okay, but there is a serious buildup here in Eastern Europe and serious reconnaissance. Okay, we also had some British fighter jets take off from the Ramstein Air Base area, fly towards Poland, and then turn around and come back. And then this was 2 nights ago. You can see all the recon here in Poland and the Baltics. You have the sub-hunter that was flying low in the Baltic Sea, an AWACS plane in Poland, Swedish reconnaissance plane, and also this U.S. military recon plane flying in Estonia. Okay. And then also last night, we had the Polish border guard moving some anti-tank obstacles at the Polish-Russian border. I think it's the largest crossing they have with Russia. It's at the Bagratianovsk-Bezledy border crossing. I think it's their largest border crossing with Russia, and they were putting up some anti-tank obstacles, as you can see here, that front-end loader carrying anti-tank obstacles. So something is brewing over here. And the British Defense Secretary John Healey said that the British Royal Navy was tracking a Russian spy ship that passed through British waters recently. And we're hearing that thousands of active duty U.S. military troops have been ordered to the Mexican border, joining the 2,200 active troops already there and 4,500 National Guardsmen already there, with the Trump administration announcing even more troops are expected to follow. And we're also hearing that U.S. Special Ops may be going into Mexico to take down the cartels now that the cartels are designated as a foreign terrorist organization. That allows the Navy SEALs, the Delta Force, the Army Rangers, the Green Berets, all of our Tier 1 units to go into Mexico and kick the cartel's asses, okay? And I think we're going to see it. That's going to be super satisfying to watch. And the European intelligence agencies have warned of a possible Russian attack on Europe in 2028. They keep putting these numbers out that are so far out, you know, like 3 years, 5 years away, 8 years away, because they want people to not panic, okay? 2028, which is like 3 years. I don't think Putin's going to wait 3 years to attack the Baltics or Europe. He's not going to wait 3 years. By then, who knows if he's going to even remember his own name, okay? He's getting old. And Mark Rutte spoke to Marco Rubio on the phone. Mark Rutte is the leader of NATO. Marco Rubio is the new Secretary of State. And Ukraine will not agree to a compromise that would assume recognition of the occupied territories as part of the Russian Federation, even under pressure from all allies, Zelensky said yesterday. And also he said for Ukraine, the occupied territories will remain Ukrainian until they are returned to state control. He also said that Russia should at least return to the line before the invasion. This would be a fair opportunity to start a dialogue. Wow, so Zelensky with some big demands here. We'll have to see what happens. North Korea is planning to send some reinforcements to Russia within the next 2 months. And Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban slammed Ukraine for suspending Russian gas transit to Central Europe, calling it hostile and aggressive. The leader threatened unspecified consequences if Ukraine doesn't change course. And there was a stabbing attack at a daycare center in Germany today. At least 2 are dead and 2 injured in Aschaffenburg, Germany. A suspect is in custody. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz called the attack unbelievable. And the suspect in the stabbing attack was apparently a 28-year-old Afghan national. So you see what happens when you have uncontrolled borders and uncontrolled migration. This is what happens, guys, okay? Because if you remember about 10 years ago, the European Union opened their borders to migrants from the Middle East, and they were letting all these people in. Okay, and now you see what happens. Okay, this is the problem with uncontrolled immigration, uncontrolled migration, taking in refugees from all over the place with zero background checks or anything. And what's interesting is the country where my parents are from, Poland, when the European Union was trying to force every country in Europe to take in migrants, Poland said, no, we will not take in not even a single migrant. And look, Poland does not have any issues like that, okay? No stabbing attacks in Poland from people that are from Afghanistan or some other place over there, okay? And the risk of an armed conflict breaking out in the Baltic Sea is growing, according to the Finnish Ministry of National Defense. And the Las Vegas Police Department said they would refuse to assist with any federal immigration enforcement. And we're hearing from the border czar, Tom Homan, that the ICE raids have already begun, that they're working in big cities across the country to arrest illegal aliens. And so Las Vegas police putting out a statement saying they would refuse to assist with any federal immigration enforcement. Here we have a sub-hunter that was active off the coast of Taiwan. This is a US P-8 Poseidon. And here's that notice that was put out by the Las Vegas police saying, although Nevada peace officers have the authority to assist in enforcing federal laws, Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department officers will not enforce immigration violations. Officers will not stop and question, detain, arrest, or place an immigration hold on any individuals on the grounds they are an undocumented immigrant. Okay, so very interesting. And we also had another Recon drone in the Persian Gulf last night patrolling the coast of Iran. They've been flying here basically every night for the last few days, so something's brewing in Iran. And apparently in Portland, Antifa attacked the ICE detention facility over there. So that's Portland, Oregon. And Trump will announce a $500 billion AI infrastructure investment. Trump is set to unveil a private sector-backed AI project called Stargate, led by OpenAI, SoftBank, and Oracle. The companies will invest $100 billion initially, with plans to reach $500 billion over 4 years, starting with a massive data center in Texas. So what's interesting is I was listening to the press briefing about this yesterday, and one of the CEOs of these companies, I think it was OpenAI or Oracle, was talking about how they could use AI to create cancer vaccines. So, and he specifically mentioned mRNA, that they could use mRNA and AI to scan people for markers of cancer. And then once they find those markers, they can develop a vaccine that they would inject in you, and it would basically stop the cancer. So that's pretty insane. So basically the U.S. is working on a cancer cure under the Trump administration. Unbelievable. If it's safe, I'm all for it, you know. I mean, cancer is devastating. I mean, so many families have been devastated by cancer. So if it's safe and it works, I support it. But if it has mRNA in it, I mean, you know, it's kind of questionable. And Slovakia's opposition leader, Michal Šimetska, warns that Robert Fico is seeking to pull Slovakia out of the EU. And Britain has urged its citizens to refrain from traveling to the Armenia-Azerbaijan border. And Trump's first trip of his second term will be to North Carolina and Tennessee, and also to Los Angeles to visit the disaster-hit areas, the areas that were flooded in the Smokies, and then the areas that were hit by the wildfire in LA. Marco Rubio was officially sworn in as the Secretary of State, and Syria has terminated a port agreement with a Russian company at the port in Tartus. And Latvia's ruling party has proposed banning Belarusians from buying land in Latvia. And Trump will seek the restoration of UN sanctions on Iran, which were lifted by a 2015 nuclear deal. And I want to update you guys on this crazy cold weather we've been having here in the U.S. What you're looking at is a temperature map of western Pennsylvania. And last night, some of the temperatures here got down to minus 15, even close to minus 20. Western Pennsylvania, eastern Ohio, and West Virginia really got cold last night. You can see Pittsburgh dropped to minus 13. Youngstown in Ohio, minus 13. Du Bois in Pennsylvania, minus 17. Morgantown, West Virginia, minus 13. These are definitely very cold temperatures for this part of the country, but not record-breaking. The record for Pennsylvania is actually minus 42, I believe. But you can see that the dome of cold air has basically pushed out of the Midwest, and it was in western Pennsylvania, eastern Ohio, and West Virginia, and now it's moving out towards the Atlantic. So it looks like the worst of the cold is behind us for now. Here we have video footage coming out of the New Orleans area. This is absolutely insane, guys. Look at this. You see these palm trees here? Okay, getting pounded by snow and wind. I mean, this looks surreal. You know, this looks like a hurricane with snow, basically. Look at this. It's like whiteout conditions. Okay, I mean, this is just unbelievable, guys. We are entering a new little ice age. If you don't know what the little ice age was, you can Google it. Okay, back in the medieval times, there was a global cooling period from the 1400s to the 1600s that coincided with a period of dormancy of the sun known as the Maunder Minimum. And during the Maunder Minimum, it got so cold that the river in London, the Thames River, would freeze solid every single winter, and they would have frost fairs. They would have like flea markets on the ice on the Thames River. Absolutely insane. And the Baltic Sea would freeze so solidly that you could walk across from Poland to Sweden on the ice. Okay, here we have some footage coming out of downtown New Orleans. I mean, this looks unreal, guys. Okay, when I first saw this video, I thought it was from Pittsburgh or some other Midwestern or Rust Belt city that's real snowy, like Buffalo or Pittsburgh or Detroit or Chicago. But no, this is downtown New Orleans, guys. Absolutely insane. If this is not evidence that we are entering a global cooling period, I don't know what is. I don't know what it will take to convince people. Okay, so get prepared, because it's not going to warm up anytime soon. Make sure you have everything you need. Think about what you would do if your power goes out in this type of cold. Do you have alternative heat sources like a wood stove or a buddy heater or diesel heater? Okay, even if you live in an apartment, you can run a diesel heater safely. You can get a backpacking stove, a camp stove, a wood stove, and set it up in your apartment and run the flue out of a window, and that is totally safe. As long as you crack a window open for ventilation, you'll be fine, and it's super easy to set up. And here we have footage coming out of Pensacola, Florida, guys. Pensacola, absolutely insane. The panhandle of Florida covered in snow, whiteout conditions. Look at this, guys. This looks like Maine. Okay, this looks like Maine. This does not look like Florida. Absolutely unreal. Okay, and we're hearing that Louisiana got over a foot of snow. In New Orleans, they got 10 inches of snow, breaking the all-time record of 8.2 inches in 1895. And in Youngsville, Louisiana, they reached 13 inches of snow, guys. 13 inches of snow. And here we have more footage coming from the Gulf Coast area. I believe this is in Florida or Alabama. You can see complete whiteout conditions here on this interstate. Okay, look at this. You can't even see any vehicles. All you see is just their headlights. Totally insane. And then here we have some footage from downtown New Orleans. It's a time lapse. I'm going to leave you with this footage. It shows how the snow accumulated over time. But that's pretty much it for now. I will be back later with another update. Just make sure you guys are getting prepared. Something big is going on. We have all these Recon planes in Europe. We have Trump basically ripping Putin a new one on his inauguration day. And I don't think Putin's going to be too happy about that. And Trump insisting on forcing Putin to the negotiating table by pressuring him with sanctions or giving more military equipment to Ukraine. I don't think Putin's going to like that. We'll have to wait and see what happens, but I personally do not think Putin will sign any kind of deal that the West is going to offer to him unless he's like really desperate, but it would make him look so weak if he signed any kind of deal at home. That would make him look so weak, and around the world it would make him look so weak. Okay, so I personally do not think he will sign any kind of deal. So it looks like the war will probably continue on, but at least we have a strong leader now that is going to rebuild our military, rebuild our nuclear forces, and maybe give Ukraine better weapons this time instead of wasting tons and tons of money on weapons that are not effective. Maybe we'll be able to give Ukraine better weapons that are more effective, so we don't need to give as much and they won't cost as much because of that. But that's pretty much it, guys. I'll be back later on. Take care. God bless. And don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere.